On this episode of the Forward Forum, both McCain and Obama were hurt by their association with controversial preachers. Will John Hagee and Jeremiah Wright continue to do damage in 2008? A pro-Israel left-wing lobbying group has popped up. But does the Jewish community need an anti-AIPAC? Billionaire Michael Steinhardt wants the public school system to provide a Hebrew education. But will it cross church-state lines? The kosher meat industry is facing more scrutiny than ever after a massive raid on the country's largest kosher slaughterhouse. And finally, could summer camp be the one experience to keep Jewish kids involved in the community? From the TJC studios in New York City, this is the Forward Forum.
I mean, this is really apples and oranges. Hagee is someone who endorsed John McCain. John McCain didn't really have a long association with him, whereas the 20-year association between Obama and Wright really has caused a certain degree of unease. And
but the Hagee thing, though, was weird because I feel like a lot of people, when Hagee made the endorsement, were uncomfortable with things like saying that Katrina was because of gay people and things like that.
But
then the reason he got jettisoned. Yeah, but that was weird too, because he renounced him for saying that essentially that the Holocaust was part of God's plan. And Orthodox Jews have said way worse. I mean, some of them have said that people died in the Holocaust as God's vengeance for Zionism. Ridiculous.
Well, I think it was a matter of his being... At that point, McCain was trying to counter any perception that he had a controversial cleric on his side.
I think he just wanted to get rid of...
And he was worried about that national debate. That's right. And in fact, that angered some of his Christian friends because they said, this is exactly what you're doing. You're just trying to use this as one more way to kind of score points against Obama. It's not really because Hagee has said anything new.
But I also think McCain never had much comfort with Hagee in the first place.
McCain probably had no idea what sort of stuff Hagee had said.
There's this debate within the conservative movement. You know, there are those who say, well, we should boycott agri-processors. But then there are those who are afraid that if there's a boycott, then people won't be able to eat kosher. That for the conservative Jew in a remote area, that the option is either it's agri-processor or it's nothing.
I think in some ways it's good that you brought up the reform movement because I read this whole debacle in some ways as the culmination of a debate between Reform Judaism and conservative and Orthodox streams, because really what we're seeing now is this attempt to sort of meld ritual with a sense of ethical concern, and sort of the reform movement has said, let's pursue a better world, let's not worry about whether your burger's kosher. And now the conservative movement is kind of answering that. There are folks within the conservative umbrella that are saying, let's find a way to make a case for conservative Judaism that's based on saying we are for social justice, we are pushing for that, and you should still be eating your kosher meat.
Right.
In fact, the guy that they're really touting, that J Street's really touting, Charles Bustani from Louisiana, sponsored this letter that called for increased funding to the Palestinians. AIPAC backed that letter also. So it's sort of,
The thing that I think will distinguish J Street is a very single-minded focus on advancing negotiations and an active American role in those things. And AIPAC, they may be friendly at times to that approach, but that's not their main issue.
That's not what they're pushing.
Right.
Right. Well, I know that Eric Yoffe, who's the president of the Union for Reform Judaism, made the point, you quoted him in your article, as saying that this whole project is based on rhetorical sleight of hand.
We can't admit what we're about. We can't admit why we started this school because it's supposedly a public school.
Maybe we can. I actually think we can do all this hand-wringing about these charter schools, but the reality is that it's very hard to keep your personal identity in the public square, and that's an equally important part of the American project. And it seems to me that it's not so easy to, in my mind, dismiss the costs of a totally neutral school environment. A lot of us come from families where Yiddish was lost in a generation because you couldn't be a Jew in public, and so it's hard for me sort of to say
that is not the job of the government. Could you imagine how awful it would be if the public schools had all taught us to be Yiddish speakers?
Right.
I mean, what sort of America would that be where the government... That's the Balkans. That's not America.
No, but